Okay, today let's look at another sign that would seem to point to the fact that we are reaching the end of the age, that God cannot linger much longer in coming, in His second coming. And this is the increase in knowledge. This is basically based on the fact that God limits the amount of knowledge that mankind can have. There are certain times in history where God has caused something to happen on earth in order to limit what mankind can do. And so mankind became so evil at one point that he sent a flood and started over again. And then they became evil again. They were doing some incredible building at Babylon. They were building the Tower of Babylon, and God came in and He mixed their language so that they can no longer understand each other, so that He set them back in their advancement in technology, basically. Genesis 11:5-9. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower the people were building. The Lord said, if as one people speaking the same language they have begun to do this, then nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language, so they will not understand each other. Understand this, God is not against technology, He is not against development. He made us creative and He made us able to create things. But the problem is that technology was used against God, and it was used against His commands. It was used for evil and not for good. And so they were building this tower in direct contradiction to His command, where He had said, spread around this world and go and explore. And they said, no, let us not spread around this world. Let us make a tower and build ourselves a name here in the city. Mankind has quickly turned around this barrier that God has set with languages. With technology right now, the time is very near where you can speak into your phone in English and the phone will translate it into Chinese or Hindi or whatever language you want to speak, and vice versa. We've become very close to that. I'm amazed at how good Google Translate is right now. A few years ago, when I tried to translate English to Nepali on Google Translate, it wasn't that good, or French or different languages, but it's become incredibly good right now. It's just amazing. It's an amazing tool. But anyway, this language barrier that God had set up is being broken already by technology. But this is just the start of things. Now, technology has increased in an incredible way right now. In a way that even those who are in the tech business are just amazed at how fast things are changing. The growth of knowledge right now is growing exponentially. That means at one point it's going to be limitless, and there is something among the tech world that is called the singularity, and the singularity is a point where technology is going to be self-teaching itself and will surpass the knowledge of mankind. So AI will come to a point very soon, because of the speed of exponential growth of the knowledge that we have, that the AI is going to be able to self-teach and change itself, and therefore go beyond the knowledge that humans have. According to a lot of these guys who works in robotics and AI computers, it is just around the corner. It's 10-20 years down the road. A quick example right now of how technology has changed. The iPad mini has 50,000 times more computing power than the space shuttle program had in 1980s. All right, 50,000 times more computing power in your pocket than the whole space shuttle program had in the 1980s. That much computing power at that time cost $100 million, but now and it costs $200-300. In 1976, a digital camera of 0.01 megapixels weighed 4 pounds and cost $10,000. Right now, a camera with 10 megapixels can weigh 0.03 pounds and costs only $10 or so. The exponential growth rate of technology is absolutely incredible. Not only has it become way more powerful, but it has become way cheaper. A few years ago, they created an AI to play the game Go. And this is one of the oldest games in the world. And the computer AlphaGo was eventually able to learn it and beat the world's best player. 1 year later, another AI was giving the rules to play it without any data, and the computer played against itself for 40 days, and later it beat AlphaGo, the first computer, 100-0. So just within a year, the AI became so much more powerful that it could beat the AI of 1 year previous. Another thing that we must look at is transhumanism. It's the move to mix computers with humans, and it is way far advanced. A few years ago, Elon Musk has announced the arrival of Neuralink, and that it would be available very soon for the public. And I do believe many people have it implanted right now. I just saw a documentary the other day of a couple that had this implanted. So it's an implant of basically hairs that feelers, thousands of hairs that you implant into your brain, and that will allow your brain to communicate with computers. And so basically you can hook yourself up to a computer in that way. The computer can read your brain and can input information into your brain. They are able to read and write information from the brain. For instance, just a few experiments that they have done. Two people that are hooked up to the internet basically and have their brain wired into computers. One of them would have a screen and he's playing a video game, and he doesn't have a joystick to move, and he is hooked up to someone in another state, and their brains are connected, and the other person does not see the screen, but he has the joystick to move right and left. So the first person who's looking at the game, his brain tells him, okay, move right, and that information is understood by the computer. It can just read his thoughts, and his thoughts are transplanted into the other person, and that person moves the joystick left or right. So it's immediate. It's absolutely extremely quick, where not only can the computer understand the brain without you talking or anything, but it can take that information and transplant it into another person's brain. What they did as well is they took a mouse and they had this implant in his brain, and they taught this mouse how to go through a maze. And so the mouse eventually found out how to go through the maze and get food for itself. And then they hooked this mouse's brain, mouse number one's brain, to mouse number two. And as soon as they hooked it up through the internet, the mouse number two immediately knew how to get the food from the maze. So the information was taken out of the mouse's brain and was implanted into the second mouse's. To what point is God going to allow humankind to develop this kind of science? What they're talking about right now is that eventually you will be able to download data into your brain. So for example, you want to be a doctor, you don't have to go to college for 8 years anymore, or however amount of time it takes. You just download that data into your brain and automatically you have the information. They have found ways to control animals by putting these implants into their brains, and they can actually control the animal because they can send the signals and feed information into the brain to make it do certain things, to go certain places. So instead of having robots to go in a hostage situation, let's say, they can send a mouse, or they can send a beetle, or they can send an insect that has video, audio, everything, and so they're not recognizable. The point at which technology has arrived is absolutely incredible, and these are the things that they openly show you on the researches they do. To what point is God going to allow us to go? At what point is God going to say, okay, that's enough, nothing is going to be impossible for them anymore, and I must put an end to this? Because don't think that all this technology is only used for good. It will absolutely use for evil, because the Bible is clear that man is evil. Reading minds, reading thoughts, downloading thoughts, all this stuff is happening right now, and it's just crazy. They're using all this technology and they're presenting it as good. All this stuff is used for war amputees, let's say. Let's say a soldier lost his arm and his legs. They create a new arm and a new leg. They hook these legs and arms to his brain, and now he just needs to think about it. So it takes a process for the computer to learn his brain waves and things. But now he can control his hand normally, just like it was part of his body. Not only that, but absolutely, this is crazy, is that not only can he control the hands, but now they can bring feeling into the hand again. So through this computerized hand, they can feel rough, hot, cold, They can bring tastes into your, so they can send brave waves into your brain that you will taste things, that you will experience things, let's say like skydiving. Like, so the virtual world has almost become real to a certain extent, because you can now taste, feel, smell, and experience the feelings that are involved with all kinds of different things. To what point is God going to allow scientists to keep on going? The transhuman movement right now basically is talking about, and I just saw some videos on BBC where they're advertising this. A father and a mother are talking to their teenage daughter, and she says, you know, I'd like to talk to you. I'm trans. And they're like, oh, you're that's okay, you know, if you're a boy, you're a girl, we don't mind. Don't worry about it. And she's like, no, you don't understand. I'm transhuman. I don't want to live in this flesh anymore. That's the word she uses. I don't want to live in this flesh anymore. I want to become eternal. And so what she's saying is she's telling them that soon in Switzerland she will be able to download herself into the computer, into the cloud, and she can become eternal, and she can live in a virtual life. And basically she's saying she's suicidal, but the BBC has this advertised, and you can watch things on transhumanism. Basically, transhumanism at one point believes that humans are appendage to this world. We're a virus. It's better if we all download ourselves into the internet, and that we all die. It's better for this world. And they believe this is the next step in evolution. We've evolved into humans, and the next step will be to evolve into transhumans. So this is absolutely incredible, and it's not that far away. Of course, they have no understanding of the spirit of man, and they have no understanding of what they're doing, but that doesn't matter if they understand it or not. They are at the point where they can do this very soon. So how long do you think God is going to put up with this kind of thing? Biotechnology has become pretty incredible. They can now manipulate genomes, and they have nanobots. They have CRISPR technology that can go in to your DNA and cut out certain sections and then put other sections in, so that it can not only take away from the DNA, but it can add to the DNA code. And so you can manipulate life in all kinds of ways. For instance, they can take a flower, and they can make the flower change colors throughout the day and different times of the day. So you'll have a flower, it's not red all the time, it will change colors in one day. So in the morning it'll be yellow, then it will become purple, and then in the evening red, or whatever, blue, whatever country. The ability of scientists right now of what they can do to someone's body and to different things is mind-blowing. They can add missing genes. Basically, they're talking about genetically modified babies in the future, where you can choose the genetics and choose the eye color, and whether they're going to be strong or not. You can add information into the genes, or you can remove unwanted ones in the genes. This kind of thing. And we had the scientist, this doctor that came out in China, I think it was last year, that said they had already created genetic babies, and he kind of suddenly disappeared and never heard of again. So they are doing this behind our backs, and to what point, who knows? Your smartphones are extremely smart, and there's all kinds of health apps and things. They have this gel now that they're developing that you can put in your skin, and it kind of spreads around your body, and it's basically an antenna that communicates with your phone, and it tells them all the information about your body, what's right and what's wrong with your body, and it's extremely accurate. It's like you're getting tested all the time. And the companies that own your phone and own this app, they have all the information about your health at that time, if you allow them to do this. This is the kind of thing that they're able to do, and that they're pushing, that they want to do. Genesis 6:3, at the point of Noah's flood, God said, "My spirit will not contend with humans forever, for they are mortal, and their days will be 120 years." God set a certain amount of time that we can live, and no longer. And a lot of these people who are trying to live long lives, all these people are trying to live longer than 120 years. That's their declared goal. And it's not hard to believe that they're going to be able to do that if God doesn't intervene soon enough. So technology has advanced to an incredible point, and the things that they can do is absolutely crazy. We know in the past, reading the Old Testament, that God puts a cap on how far mankind can go in their technology and in their advancements. And we know that all this technology and advancements is not only used for good, it's also will be used for evil. We come to a point where there has to be something drastic that happens that will either set back the world and the technology that we have, or that the end will come and God will put a complete end to it. Either way, something drastic has to come, because we've come to the point where technology is messing around with things that they shouldn't mess around with anymore. And they can do things that God will not allow them to do, because God will not put up with it for very long. Technology is something to keep your eye out on, and to understand that there's only so far that God will allow this world to mess around with genomes and human life.